Hello there everyone, welcome to the channel if you're new, and welcome back if you aren't. I'm EDJ, and we're continuing with Epic History TV's series on the Napoleonic Wars. So last time we saw more in-depth kind of the situation in Spain and just how the French were not having a good time, to put it lightly. You know, not only did they have to contest with the Duke of Wellington and the Spanish army, but just the citizens. It's like all of Spain is just against the French, and now the introduction of the guerrilla fighters, which struck new types of terror in the French soldiers, is just a complete mess. While this is going on, Napoleon is, you know, declared in Russia, and we're gonna cover that next time. But yeah, overall, just a complete mess, a complete awful mess of a situation. And yeah, we're gonna see more of Wellington. So yeah, other than Waterloo, I know that Wellington earned he strengthened his reputation in the Spanish campaign, and I only really know from, you know, the Battle of Waterloo is kind of the most in-depth battle that I know about, you know, his career. So it is kind of cool to see, you know, where he essentially started to rise into prominence, at least during the Napoleonic era. And yeah, hopefully we'll see just how much more impressive he is during this video, hopefully. Really cool. So far, I've been very impressed with Wellington, you know. He seems like he's got his troops in order, he knows when to pick his fights, he's incredibly great at defense. And yeah, just overall beyond, you know, impressive. So let's see if he impresses me anymore now. Oh wait. But first, if you want to watch this video without me pausing or my face here in the corner or anything else, the link to this video will be down in the description down below. Without any further ado, let's watch Wellington Strikes, Salamanca, 1812.
By 1812, Napoleon's French Empire had 250,000 troops stationed in Spain, bogged down in a war that seemed to have no end. They faced a bitter struggle against the people of Spain, who'd taken up arms in a guerrilla war, as well as the remnants of Spain's field armies and an Anglo-Portuguese army under Lord Wellington. But French forces in Spain remained formidable and in firm control of the capital, Madrid, and most major cities. And the year began with another great French victory in the south, and a calamity for Spain. This video is sponsored by Audible, our favorite place to go for audiobooks. They have an unmatched selection.
Alright, wait. Dang it. Okay. Alright. If I had two generals like Schult to lead my troops in Spain, this war would already be over.
Spain and Portugal would become a graveyard, not just for young French conscripts, but for the reputation of some of France's most famous generals. General Junot, Marshal Soult, and Marshal Jourdan had all tasted defeat. Marshal Massena had been recalled in disgrace.
Yeah, poor Massena, man. MVP of Italy always. But yeah, he struggled in Spain.
Marshal Louis Gabriel Suchet was the exception.
Suchet? Oh, Suchet. No, I completely had it wrong. I said Soult. That's a completely different dude. Suchet. Wait, I need to get this right.
Marshal Louis Gabriel Suchet was the exception.
Suchet. I'm thinking of sushi. Suchet. Okay. Alright, that's how I'm gonna remember him. Suchet. Alright. Alright, sounds like sushi. I'm gonna get this.
French generals in Spain were notorious for their looting, Soult, based in Andalusia, was probably the worst, reckoned to have stolen 1.5 million francs worth of art from Spanish monasteries and churches. As governor of Aragon, Marshal Suchet behaved very differently. He enforced strict discipline on his troops, punishing any who tried to steal or extort money from the Spanish, while treating local authorities with respect. He combined this hearts and minds strategy with ruthless military action against the guerrillas that was able to establish firm control of Aragon. In June 1811, after a particularly bloody assault, Suchet took the port of Tarragona, for which Napoleon rewarded him with his marshal's baton. The emperor then sent him reinforcements and ordered him to take Valencia. First, he routed a much larger Spanish army that attacked him at Saguntum, before he laid siege to Valencia. The city was packed with Spanish troops and refugees, and to avoid starvation, General Blake surrendered Valencia on the 8th of January, 1812.
Okay, so the video's not even done, but I'm gonna update my marshals list. Like I said, I mentioned the marshals list. I might go over it in detail with you guys when we get to the Marshal series portion of this Napoleonic series he's done. But like I said, for those of you who don't know, a few videos ago I said, like, I think when Lannes died, I had this list of how I kept track of the marshals. And I write down the marshals' names, and I write down a brief description of how I remember them next to the name. And, you know, for instance, next to Davout's name, I put Giga Chad, you know, MVP, the best marshal, you know, all that. I put Massena's next to his, you know, MVP of Italy. I put next to Lannes, Napoleon's friend. And, alright. So I'm gonna update this with, you know, yeah, so it's Soult, Greedy, yeah, Soult, Greedy, because, I don't mean this to be mean, like, I have next to, you know, Marshal Ney's name, I put failed cavalry charge at Waterloo, and I don't mean this to be mean, this is just how I'm remembering them. This is like, when I think of their name, the first thing that pops in my head, you know? So, yeah, so for Schultz, Greedy, and now for Suchet, I put MVP of Spain. Like, the video's not even done, but an endorsement from Napoleon and seeing him wreck through here, I think he has earned the title MVP of Spain. That is what I shall put for Suchet. I'll also put Sushi, you know. Let me see. Sushi, MVP of Spain. Alright. So, yeah, just updating my list here.
The French took 18,000 prisoners, including 23 generals, and nearly 500 guns. It was a devastating blow to the Spanish cause. But to reinforce Suchet, Napoleon had stripped troops from other armies in Spain, and then withdrawn 25,000 of the best troops for his imminent invasion of Russia. The result was that French forces in Spain were now severely overstretched, just as Wellington prepared to strike.
Oh, that's not good. Okay, we have in the service the scum of the earth as common soldiers, enlisted for drink. Wellington.
Spanish guerrillas kept Wellington well informed of French movements, and learning that the forces facing him in western Spain had been much weakened, he decided to go on the offensive, to strike a blow before the French could concentrate against him. On the day that Valencia fell, he laid siege to Ciudad Rodrigo on the Portuguese-Spanish frontier. Eager to take the city before Marshal Marmont could march to its relief, he ordered an assault after just 10 days. It succeeded, though Major General Crawford of the Light Division was among 300 killed. Wellington then marched south to besiege the much more strongly defended city of Badajoz. An assault was made on the night of the 6th of April. The first wave attacking the main breach were slaughtered. But what was supposed to be a diversionary attack on the city's castle with scaling ladders succeeded, and the city soon fell. The storming of Badajoz cost the British 3,700 casualties. In the aftermath, survivors went on the rampage, drinking, looting and raping, and killing more than 100 Spanish civilians before British officers finally restored order. Wellington had secured the two main routes between Spain and Portugal. Now he sent his most reliable subordinate, General Hill, with a small Anglo-Portuguese force to destroy the bridge over the Tagus at Almaraz. This was a vital link between Marmont's army of Portugal and Soult's army of the south, as the next usable bridge was at Toledo, 90 miles east. The bridge was well guarded by forts and redoubts, but Hill led a swift and daring assault. The French defences were taken by surprise. The bridge itself and all the engineering equipment burned, for the cost of just 177 casualties. Wellington was now ready to begin his advance into Spain. Spanish regular forces and guerrilla bands began operations to tie down as many French troops as possible. While from the Bay of Biscay, Sir Hume Popham's naval raiding force made diversionary attacks on French coastal targets. In 4 days, Wellington was at Salamanca, as Marmont, outnumbered, withdrew behind the Douro River. But when reinforcements arrived, he crossed the river again. For 6 days, Marmont tried to march around Wellington's flank, but the British general matched him move for move, their two armies marching in parallel, often within sight of each other. But on the 7th day, Marmont blundered.
My dear Alva, Marmont is lost. Wow.
On the morning of the 22nd of July, Wellington's army occupied high ground 4 miles south of Salamanca. Marmont was not interested in a direct assault. He still sought to outflank Wellington, threaten his line of retreat to Portugal, and force him to fall back. Around 8 a.m., the French won a dash for a hill known as the Greater Arapil, which Marmont made his observation point. The French army began to swing round behind him. Marmont had convinced himself that Wellington was an overly cautious general who would not risk attack. The hills hid most of Wellington's army from view, and when Marmont saw dust clouds to the west, he assumed it was Wellington's baggage train leaving Salamanca, beginning their retreat. But it was the British 3rd Division and a Portuguese cavalry brigade moving up to strengthen Wellington's flank, because he wasn't planning a retreat. He was about to attack.
There they are, my lads. Just let them feel the temper of your bayonets. Major General Edward Pakenham?
I saw war. I saw bombing. I saw...
Around 2 p.m., Marmont ordered the 5 infantry divisions waiting in the woods behind him to march west, to cut off Wellington's imagined retreat. General Moukoun's 5th Division, in the lead, stopped to engage what was presumed to be the British rearguard in the village of Los Arapiles. General Thomier's 7th Division continued west past it. Wellington watched as the French left flank became increasingly strung out and knew it was an opportunity too good to miss. He galloped 3 miles across country to the 3rd Division to give the crucial orders in person. Many of his staff officers struggled to keep up. On arrival, he instructed the division's commander, his own brother-in-law, Edward Pakenham, to attack and drive everything before him. Third Division's advance was hidden by low hills until the last minute. Thomier's division was caught completely unawares and shattered by the assault. Thomier's himself was killed. Half his division killed or captured. The rest soon put to flight.
Oh my goodness, that's a disaster.
Marshal Marmont was hit by a British shell and carried from the field seriously wounded. His second-in-command, General Bonnet, was himself wounded an hour later, so command passed to General Clausel. 45 minutes later, the British 5th Division attacked, supported by 2 Portuguese brigades and General Le Marchand's dragoons. The French...
Man, I am impressed with Wellington. He's handled... So far, this is like... just cold precision. It's like the man like is whooping their butts right now. Like, oh my gosh. like he had Marmont, I was gonna say Marmont completely down for the count in this encounter. Like, this whole thing, Marmont assumed this was like a, what do you say, a supply thing either way. But yeah, he was completely blindsided, so this was good. The Duke of Wellington, at this point had really picked his fights carefully and been very defensive. I guess, yeah, Marmont was pretty logical in assuming he was a more defensive general, so he wouldn't... But, like, Wellington turned that on his head and just became very aggressive suddenly, and it's just, like, worked in his favor. Like, completely one-sidedly shattered here through this division, and now he took out 2 of their leaders. Like, dang, this feels so one-sided.
Saw the cavalry coming and formed square, but were hit first by the British infantry, who unleashed a close-range volley, then charged with the bayonet. The French were routed and charged down by Le Marchand's cavalry. French 6th Division was caught up in the collapse.
Gosh.
Le Marchand himself was shot from the saddle, but his brigade had helped destroy 8 French battalions and capture 2 Eagles. Wellington's echelon attack continued as Cole's 4th Division advanced in the centre. But Pack's Portuguese brigade was thrown back from the Greater Arapil, and the whole division was soon falling back in disorder. Despite the devastation of his army's left flank, General Clausel decided to launch an attack on the Lesser Arapil, the hinge of Wellington's position. If it could be taken, he might still snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. But the French advance was met by fresh troops of Clinton's 6th Division, who poured volleys of musket fire into the French columns. They began to fall back. The French army had lost the will to fight on, its soldiers streaming away into the woods behind them. General Ferret's 3rd Division mounted a brave rearguard action to buy the rest of the army time to escape, but it faced a hopeless task. It was soon outflanked by the British 5th Division, and Ferret himself was killed. Only General Foy's 1st Division escaped in good order. With darkness falling and his army exhausted, Wellington called off the pursuit.
A deputation of the courts came to congratulate me upon your victory, hailing you as the savior of Spain. Henry Wellesley, British ambassador to Spain, to his brother Lord Wellington. Dang, that was... I don't think I've seen the French get that manhandled this entire series, but that was, like, so one-sided. Like, wow. Like, I can't remember another instance where they just got manhandled like that. Like, dang, Wellington. Chill.
Wellington had smashed Marmont's army, taking 7,000 prisoners and killing or wounding 6,000 more, a French casualty rate of 25%, and more than double Wellington's own losses. The next day, dragoons of the King's German Legion attacked the French rearguard and achieved the almost unheard-of feat of charging down a French infantry square and taking another 1,000 prisoners.
Oh my gosh, yeah, they're just getting massacred.
Wellington now decided to march on Madrid, forcing King Joseph to abandon the capital and retreat to Valencia to join up with Marshal Suchet. On the 12th of August, Wellington liberated the city to scenes of wild celebration. Soult, now at risk of being cut off in Andalusia, abandoned the siege of Cadiz, which had dragged on for 2.5 years, and marched east to join Joseph and Suchet. The following month, Wellington marched north, pushing the French back from Valladolid and besieging the castle of Burgos. But his army lacked heavy guns, and the French garrison fought bravely. As powerful French armies gathered to the north and south, Wellington himself was now in danger of being trapped. He had no choice but to withdraw. Wellington's retreat turned into a desperate forced march through autumn rain. The supply system collapsed, and many starving soldiers looted what food they could find from Spanish villages. Madrid was abandoned and reoccupied by the French on the 1st of November. Wellington was back where he'd started 5 months before. But despite the campaign's dismal conclusion, his strike into Spain had led to the liberation of huge swathes of the country and left the French more overstretched than ever. Reinforced and resupplied, Wellington would be back the next year to deliver the final blow to Joseph's Spanish kingdom. 1812 had seen the tide of war turn, and not just in Spain, because 2,000 miles to the east, in Russia, catastrophe had engulfed La Grande Armée.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Thank you to all.
And we will be looking at Napoleon's invasion of Russia next video, guys. That is gonna be interesting. But yeah, the Duke of Wellington, man, beyond impressive. Like, he really put it, like, man, like, just insane. The dude is impressive. I don't know how else to put it. He is just so impressive, and it's really cool learning more about him, quite frankly, because, like I said, other than Waterloo and kind of being familiar with him in Spain, I don't know the specifics of what he did, but yeah, the man is another level. Like, I could see how he really held up his own against Napoleon, like, just amazing. So I don't really have much to add. This was another great video, and I will be seeing you guys next time for Napoleon's invasion of Russia, which is, yeah, we'll talk about it next video. Bye, everyone.